Bombshell new documents show that the FBI argued they did not have probable cause to raid President Trump's Mar-A-Lago home back in August of 2022. You may remember that raid was to recover classified documents from the first Trump administration that were allegedly improperly taken from the White House and stored at Trump's Florida home.
Now, newly released documents show some in the Bureau felt they didn't have grounds for a search warrant, despite reportedly spending 6 weeks trying to establish that they did. One official going so far as to write, quote, absent a witness coming forward with recent information about classified documents on site, at what point is it fair to table this? But according to these documents, the Biden DOJ went ahead with the raid anyway, despite the objections. George Toscas, an attorney with the DOJ's National Security Division, was reportedly one of the several officials who seemingly pressured the Bureau to go ahead with the recovery operation, with Toscas, according to court documents, saying in a phone call that, quote, frankly, didn't give a damn about the optics of the raid.
Those new documents were made public by Senate Judiciary Committee Chair Chuck Grassley on Tuesday, calling them proof of a miscarriage of justice. President Trump agreed on Truth Social, writing, unreasonable search and seizure. That was the FBI's criminal raid on Mar-A-Lago. This can never be allowed to happen again. That investigation was one of the several under the purview of Special Counsel Jack Smith, who's been a frequent target of criticism from Trump. Smith is set to testify before Congress today. Man, that is
ridiculous.
A bomb. What do you mean ridiculous?
It's ridiculous, like that. This is like this proof that this is just fabricated and to continue to go forward. I know you always argue that Democrats did this first, and for some reason, I mean, for many times I thought it was warranted. In this case, with classified documents, to know that people were just sitting up there like, no proof, keep it going. That's ridiculous to me and a waste of time. But I also thought...
I think it's ridiculous that they decided to raid the president's office when there was internal disagreement about whether there was enough evidence to do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you in that ridiculous sense. I also, there was many things over that course of time that I thought were creating the narrative of this witch hunt, which propelled the president and garnered his base in a way that completely was a fail. And Democrats could have used their time more wisely during that whole time. And so when I think about all the legal proceedings and then the optics of being in the news business and probably everybody at home watching the news, seeing the president's home raided and facilities
you're going to do that, you better have all your ducks in a row. So the idea that somebody internally was saying, I'm not sure we really have enough evidence, there was like, I don't give a damn, do it anyway. Okay, this is the president of the United States.
That's the ridiculous that I mean.
This is gonna, yeah, it's ridiculous that they didn't consider. Yeah, he shouldn't be treated differently. I get that, but the level of and that was a motivating factor in actually returning him to power, because some Republicans, some conservatives who are ready to let Trump go were like, nope, we can't stand for this. They're trying to perp walk him, can't let it go.
That was where we talked about yesterday how you said, I think you said 30% of people that are Republican that voted for Trump are like, I don't care what he says, like it's more about the policy part. That was where that 30% who was on the fence and maybe was for somebody like Nikki Haley, or they circled back and was like, no, this is ridiculous, in the same way that I was referring to the ridiculous earlier. And they're like, we just have to stand behind the candidate because obviously now it does look like a witch hunt. And there were many things that the president did that required him to be scrutinized and criticized, which obviously I have no qualms about doing. But this, to have a raid, I assume that they had all the information that they need to raid and over the documents. But then to see it fall flat, you start to lose faith that there was evidence. And then to have this article come out, you're like, okay. You know, this is exactly why the American public is frustrated
100%
with Congress and with
100%.
Our government. Because, again, you're spending time trying to persecute your enemies, political enemies, and nobody wants to do that. And so that's why I always ask when the buck's going to stop.
And I would say the same thing if it was someone other than Trump. I don't think law enforcement should conduct raids unless it's really clear and the evidence is really compelling, because I don't like, citizens being, I want people's rights respected, and they gotta go through the steps, even if they're pretty sure. They gotta do it properly, or we're just living in a banana republic where, the government can not even the leader of the government, the bureaucrats, the faceless bureaucrats, can just come after everyone. That's not good. Not good at all.
Up next, a Democratic senator has a message for his party if they want to succeed in the midterms. Stick around for My Lens.